Auto cue, where is my auto cue? Haya, Sanaa kwa Sanaa anniversary conversations. Karibu sana to another one. We were here the last time in October for one of these conversations. Our second one, but our first sort of official one, tulifanya na the one and only Romy Swahili. If you've not watched that, please do so. And here we are again in January for our second edition of Hizi Anniversary Conversations, something that we look forward to doing more of with the different artists as their projects celebrate their anniversaries. So commemorating hizo projects and having conversations with the artists who zihusu. So it's almost a month since tulikuwa hapa na wewe for your Cheche Session.
Yep.
Which in some way bado kwangu ni unbelievable that it happened.
Same.
And that we had that conversation. And then here we are again for another one. Yes. Niko in awe that this is even a possibility and a reality. So thank you, Michelle, for gracing his platform. Our ardent fans wamesikia nikisema jina lako wamechoka. during our Sunday sessions, which umepitia one or two.
Yeah.
Wamesikia nikiimba jina lako hadi.
They're like, okay, we got it.
Waza ni sawa. Si kuna wasanii wengine wanatuambia about. So we are here for the second anniversary ya Michelle's debut EP Sky Up Above iliyotoka on 22nd January 2021, and I am looking forward to this conversation. Asante sana for being here. Unaweza jitambulisha kwa watazamaji, wasikilizaji?
I am Michelle Gatuiku is my name. I am a singer. I write songs. I'm a fan of music, a lover of music, in all its forms. I'm also a curious person about what other musicians put into their process. So also like having sessions like this is also an opportunity for me to also even dissect further my own work, even just as I like watching other people also talk about their own work. So it's an awesome opportunity to be here. Thanks so much for inviting me. It's a beautiful way to begin the year and also reflect on the last two. A time like this, at that time, you think many things are going on in my head. And it's just a nice time to reflect and like sit down and talk about it more. I also am a doctor. I finished my undergraduate a few months ago. So that's also part of who I am. And it's a pleasure to be here.
Nilikuwa niseme, the doctor who sings.
Yes.
The doctor who writes songs. Tuko na professionals. Does it seem as if imekuwa 2 years kwako since you dropped the EP, your debut project?
Time is an interesting thing because I know logically like it's been 2 years, but does it feel like it's been 2 years? Not really. It feels like it was literally just a few months ago that I think because the project went on quite quickly, I'm still taking it in, still sinking in that it's even out there and that it's been that long, 2 years. Yeah, it doesn't feel like it at all.
Because me pia, when the idea of having this discussion came up, it has been 2 years since this happened. And I think because nimeisikia sana, played the EP a lot. In some way, it doesn't seem as if imekuwa that long since itoke, but then ilitoka in January of 2021. And here we are celebrating 2 years of the project. Do you think you'll get to a point people are still talking about this and need the 50th anniversary sky up above.
Wow.
In a distant future.
That is crazy to even think about. But I really, really hope so. Like, I genuinely hope that the music that I had made 2 years ago still resonates with someone at some point in their lives 50 years from now. And it would be important for me because it would be part of my legacy. It would be part of what I leave behind. I mean, 50 years from now, I'll be in my 70s, maybe. Yeah. So to have that still kind of like a documentation of who I was in 2020, that would be like a very lovely, lovely thing. And if people are vibing to it in 50 years from now, it will be 2083. I'm a 73. 2073. That would be an honor. It will be a great achievement and any of my legacy.
If YouTube is still existing in 2073, if humans are still on Earth by then and you're watching this, let us know.
Yeah, please drop a comment.
Those of us who are still here will come
so
through.
Do you see? Because there's people on YouTube, guys who comment like they're watching people's live performances, like Live Aid from 1983, and they're like, if you're still vibing to this in 2022, it's
so
me.
If that is you, end up with comments. So before to delve deeper into the project, ningetaka tuanze na kwanza a point of transition na tuende nyuma kidogo.
Yeah.
If you will take us there, the transition between before uanze kukua Michelle Gatuiku as a name that ulitake. What was the sort of inspiration or thought process behind now you moving from what you are to Michelle Gatuiku as the name that will go by?
I remember a feeling of, actually two feelings. I remember a feeling of feeling like something is strange and feeling like something is uncomfortable. I remember before I decided to use my name that my mom and dad gave me as the name that I also use for all my musical ventures and projects, I also explored other options of like, what is the name that I want to use for my musical ventures and everything. And I remember being like, I'm not sure if I want to just use my name, my official name, for reasons that it's not common. It's not so many people have their pseudonyms and stage names that they take on outside their official names. And so I was like, maybe that's just the artistic norm. And I decided to also subscribe to that and actually use Ayano for a while, maybe a year or two, maybe less, can't remember. But it was also, but on the flip side, it was also a good feeling because it's an Igbo name, I believe. That at that time I was really interested in West African and especially Asha, and I just wanted to kind of pull that energy as well. I wanted, there's a greatness about her that I was also searching for, and I was like, maybe if I take on this name, there's a lot of power in a name. Like if you take on something, maybe also some other things will also transcend as well. But those two feelings of something is strange and something is uncomfortable came after a while, and I was like, I don't feel like this is my skin. I don't feel like this is where I'm supposed to be. So I just shed that skin and decided to just go by my official name because it is who I am. It's not a side of me. It's just something that I'm interested in, and it's my work. And if I wanted my work to go down with my name on it, yeah.
That's insightful. That's very, very insightful because I was curious about your transition. And najua whenever artists switch their names, there are always stories behind hizo transitions and hizo changes. Now again, still bado in the past as we work our way upwards. Katia, these following facets, ganili, if you had to say the one that prepared you the most for the EP, which one would you say? Is it being a high school soloist, spellcast, Sauti Academy,
Mm-hmm.
Afternoons
Mm-hmm.
with Ayano,
Mm-hmm.
or the Little Concert Series?
Mm-hmm. Ooh, can I say all? All of them.
I know all of them have
b-
definitely
but
prepped you for it,
it
but
was to
the most.
Probably.
And you can also take
Probably.
us through brief experiences of each if you want to.
Okay. I'd say probably the little concert sessions. I think it's one of the ones that I felt most comfortable in what I was putting out, in what I was making. And Skype Above is also one of those projects that I felt extremely comfortable in my voice, in my lyrics, in my skin, basically. And it really had the same energy with the little concert sessions, just because of how comfortable I felt creating that. As for like a brief overview of like all that, being a soloist in high school was just, it was a challenge that I wanted. It was a challenge that I took on, and that I didn't really even think or know where it would go. I remember going to like music fests and singing and being like, me, I'm the one going next. What do you mean I'm the one going next? Yeah, I remember going with another lady for the soprano solo. And then I look back now and my voice was not even, I don't even think I'm a soprano. But as to why I was singing, I think it's because I felt like being a soprano soloist is the most, I don't know, it felt the most challenging because of how well trained your voice has to be. So I think that's why I took it on. I remember being trained by Mary Olive and feeling like I'm learning. That was the most important thing. Like I was learning how to control my voice, and also I was representing people that I cared about in terms of like my house in high school or my school in music fest and whatnot. So I remember me taking it on just because it felt like a good challenge, and it would be a nice opportunity to represent guys. Spellcast was kind of a natural thing. It just felt what was the next step in terms of exploring my interest in arts and theater. And luckily, it was also a social thing as well, like being surrounded by all those minds, because we used to meet literally every single Saturday in probably, I don't know, anywhere it would be. And it was so much fun just having those guys around. So on top of me enjoying myself, I'm also surrounded by people that are fun, and I'm out of the house post high school and everything, like not after to form as well. So that's what Spellcast was, and it was also my first interest in theater, which is a space that I definitely want to go back to, in the future. Sauti Academy was again learning. I'm always just trying to expand what I know, and I learned about it from my friend Chris Clave. At the time, we met at some event, and he told me about Sauti. I don't even know if I knew about it at that point, but he told me like you should actually go try it out. And Sauti Academy is important because it is also the first place, and also for there were 2 stages of auditions. Yeah, there's a first stage where you audition, then if you get a call back, you audition a second time. So for the second audition, I passed the first one. The second time, no, actually, the first one is the one that I wrote, my first song ever, Chini Kwa Chini, that I loved and that shaped the way I wrote music for a while. And that time I didn't even play anything, so it was Chris who helped me figure out the chord work and everything, and we auditioned, and that's what got me the callback. And having that reaffirmation that, a song that I wrote actually helped me pass an audition and I was like, what? It was good feedback. And it was the first time I played my song for anyone, and it was monumental in that way. Afternoons with Ayano and the little concert sessions was my attempt and success at creating a space that was tailored to me and to artists like me. A space for us to connect with people, a space for people who enjoy our music to find us. Yeah.
Through the stories that umeshare naona kuna hiyo recurrence ya connection. Kama ni connection with people, you've need the little concert and the afternoons or even Sauti na Spellcast.
Yeah.
And so nimeona that is something that inarika kwa your stories or just connecting with the art form itself and singing. Now umesema something that you also mentioned when we were here for your Cheche session kuhusu curiosity and you wanting to learn. So nimeona that. Ningetaka kusoma posts here from you.
Okay.
Nothing incriminating.
Okay.
And they exist in public. Uko safe. So the first one is a video of you play Nothing by Bruno Major. And of course you had to talk to some people first and address important matters. Ukasema hii ni ya wale wenye wana cuddle kwa hii baridi. You had to touch on wounds. Then ukasema also I have some pretty major news coming to you soon. Along the lines of releasing music officially, and I am so excited. I'll post more about it in a few days. I'm too excited. Let me just tell you. I am doing an EP, me, my own, all original music. See jokes. It has been a long time coming and it's finally happening. Onwards, halafu ka sunflower hapo.
Yeah.
And then that was on 26th October. And then on 28th, 2020, on 28th October, you said intention. And then below, ukasema, the idea to do an EP came to me more like a decision my subconscious had already made. It's like mini-me's sat in a meeting and agreed beforehand, before presenting it to my conscious mind, and it was then up to me to make it happen. So here I am, moving intentionally and stepwise to make it happen. Based on this, take us through moment here announcing the EP in October and releasing it a few months in January. What were your emotional states during your time period?
Wow, first of all, hearing my voice back, it's like reading an old journal entry. It's like that's where my thoughts were at that time. And I remember feeling excited. That's the first thing. I think, like I said, the decision to do the EP wasn't really even a decision. It was like, I'm doing, it wasn't weighing of options. It was the only way forward. So I remember feeling excited that I'm doing an EP. I remember feeling clueless that I'm doing an EP. I remember feeling, anticipating the end result, anticipating what will come out on the other side after all this process has gone on. And it was okay because all those feelings were like compounding on each other. The excitement was also happening at the same time with the being clueless. So just because I was excited, it meant even if I'm clueless, it's fine because I'm still excited. So it was it was about now me doing the next thing. What's the next step? What's the next step? What's the next step? And I had a lot of guidance because obviously I'd never released any music. I didn't know what the stepwise nini is to getting there at all. But I had help from a guy called Rumbi. I don't know if you know. Yes, Rumbi was instrumental and has always been instrumental to a lot of steps in my music because he's the one who guided me step by step. We had a few phone calls. He told me, this is what you need to do. This is what works. This is what doesn't work. These are the options. And this is what you'll need to prepare yourself to do. And I remember also in the cluelessness was also in how I'll even finance it. I was like, how do I even, like putting out work it's a costly thing. So part of that was also figuring out, okay, so I want to do this, but where are we getting the money to do this? So kutafuta, basically. And it was an interesting adventure because I learned the skills I had learned just to pass time during the pandemic, like painting and whatnot, is what eventually funded almost like 60% of how I paid for that EP. And it was, again, reaffirming because it means that if I stay curious, if I stay learning, if I stay exploring what my mind and my hands can do, then there will always be a benefit to it. And I was so happy that I was able to fund most of it just by literally selling my paintings, even if it was just to friends who wanted to see me win, and especially because it was to friends who wanted to see me win. It was like my community is also already rooting for me. So who am I not to do it when there's so many people like literally edging me on, and my folks and my sister and everything. So it was a period where I felt so much love and so much support from the people that I love and that care about me. So those are the feelings that were going on. It was like, okay, I have people. I have Rumbi. I have people who have been doing music for much longer than I have, trying to see me win. So that period was nice. It was a nice time.
That sounds beautiful. Incidentally or serendipitously. I have, and this is an exclusive, but by the time you're watching this, Takoisha Toka, an interview with Rumbi tomorrow.
What? Crazy. Mad.
That's
Wow,
wild.
Rumbi is a special guy.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild. As you are creating the EP, what aspects of life did you draw from?
What aspects of life did I draw from? I drew from love. All of it was a place of, I drew a lot of it from love. Love in all its forms. Love for people, love for the earth, love for the universe, love for music. That's where I drew from. It was a place of love, because even if you look through all the songs, most of them are inspired a lot by feelings of love and nostalgia. So that's the main aspect of life I drew from. And I drew from also a point of honesty. I drew from a point of just saying what is that's on my mind. With, for example, Equator Winter, it was a very honest piece, because it was exploring where I was mentally for a good chunk of 2020. And it was a dark place. It wasn't a place that was very healthy. But I remember deciding to put that song on the project was also a point of me being honest. And because it was mainly supposed to be a documentation of where my mind was at 2020, it wouldn't be complete if I hadn't put Equator Winter there. So it was a point of honesty and love.
And nostalgia.
And nostalgia.
So during it time uliandika, because ulisema uliandika between April na October of 2020. Did you have the concept and then you built the songs around the concept? Ama did you build the songs and then ukazi compile under a concept? How did that process happen?
At the time I wasn't writing for the EP. There are so many other songs I wrote in 2020. 2020 is the year I've written the most music. I don't even know how many. But the concept of the EP didn't come before. It came after, when now I was curating what songs fit within a certain sound, is when I was picking. But there are songs that I knew definitely were going to be there, like Soleil and Sundays. I absolutely knew were going to be there because of how sonically they sound. Then Equator Winter and Waves / Equator Winter was another one that was the basic principle, or the basic thing that tied all of them was, it's tied to the sonic nature. Yeah, it's tied to the earth and the sounds that I was surrounded by. So all the songs are unified by that. So even when I went to pick what songs are going to be on the EP, it was a matter of, okay, which ones fit that sound.
So that's how it really happened.
Yeah.
Then, so at what point did the title Sky Up Above come?
I don't even remember. I remember playing around with different titles and be like, what suits? I was about to call it Soleil, then I was like, no, because not the whole project is about that. There were quite a number of titles that it would have gone, but I had a list of like 5 titles. Then the one and I remember Sky Up Above was number 4 out of those 5 that I was thinking as a title, and it just kept drawing me. It was like Sky Up Above, Sky Up Above, Sky Up. That's the one, because it really just encapsulates everything that the project is. It's like it's the one that fit the most. It represented every aspect of every song, and then the fact that poetry piece in Sky Up Above, the interlude, also has Sky Up Above. I think it was also a way to tie everything tie everything in, because it was already part of another song, or rather another piece. So it just made sense.
Hizo titles zingine ni good enough ama ni terrible enough zibaki kwa kitabu chako, una feel aje?
They were good. If I can find them, let me see if I can find them here. They were there somewhere.
Let us know about your your creative endeavors before bumping into or landing on the final one.
I'll look for it right here and tell you just now. Will I find it now?
Yeah, mwasanii mko na notebooks bado hivi ama
Trust everyone has everyone. I'll find it. I don't know. It's on my hair. It's a mess, but I'll find it and I'll tell you. I wish I was able.
And so still regarding the same, the artwork, because pia ulishare bits of the process sana leading up to the project. Ulishare some photos that didn't make it kukua the cover. So did also that happen after now Sky Up Above existing? Ama
yeah, that one definitely happened after I decided on the title being Sky Up Above. So that's why all the images, the concept that I had and also developed with my cousin Philip Kinoti, who was the photographer for all that, was already informed by the name Sky Up Above. So all the images that we were thinking and the concepts we had were like, what best represents this? And I remember all those pictures were so cool, and I would have wanted them to be there in some way, but I think the one that we ended up on the cover art as eventually was the right thing. I think it was the right one, but the rest were very close seconds. They were right there in me considering them. Even sometimes I'm like, what if I had done? Because for example, there's a picture I used, the nini I used for the video where I announced the track list. That one was one I was heavily considering, but we just went in the direction that we did.
And just Sky Up Above ilikuwa EP. So for your debut full length, as a photo album.
Why not? Actually, photography is also one of my interests, but I'm not I'm on the end of the lens. I'm not the one capturing. I like having my pictures taken. I won't lie.
So I find your writing to be compelling and profound.
Wow, thank you.
And I will quote some lyrics here for evidence. And this is the literature student in me, mwenye alikuwa na study poetry. So for Hawi, for example, kuna if you're feeling blue, sing a yellow song. And then from Waves, kuna don't hold your breath for something magical. These leaves are bound to fall. Don't wish on stars or clover leaves. Just wake up and roll your sleeves. And then kuna it's an equator winter, and you've mentioned it. Clouds with chances of rain falling, and the grayer it gets, the more I levitate to the hold in my head, and my mind is reeling over, trying to make sense through this little reprise, searching for meaning while closing my eyes, my visions getting hazy, scintillating, looking over my shoulder for some type of escape. That is Equator Winter. And then kwa Soleil, kuna from my toes to my fingers, you're the story that lingers. And then kwa Soleil still, kuna these birds singing in the trees. I am singing in all major keys and counting my blessings, unabated, infinitely, with midday intensity. Oh, sing to me sunsettingly and hold me indefinitely. That's from Soleil. I am very curious. Ulihon aje your writing skills?
Observation, I think, would be the main thing. Just
Michelle, all of us observe.
Yeah, but it's through observe. Like, imagine to write anything, you have to have observed it. To write anything, you have to have seen it and taken it in and internalized it properly. So I think the main thing would be observation. For me to have written a song like Soleil, it means I have observed the beauty in the sun, the beauty in sunsets over and over and over again, which is something I love. I love watching sunsets anywhere that I am. I'm always like, okay, what side is the sun setting? And to write Equator Winter is also to observe what is going on outside and then reflect on also what's going on inside my thoughts and inside my heart. The main thing is observing. But I don't know if there's really much else. I've never done like a specific writing class or, although in Sauti Academy in term 2 you do songwriting. There's the whole term is about the art of songwriting, so that definitely contributed. And I've always written short stories throughout high school. I wrote a lot of short stories in high school. But as to writing songs, my first interaction with songwriting was in Sauti Academy. I'd never written songs before that. And after that, it just kind of blossomed. From the moment I wrote Chini Kwa Chini, it's just like my pen kept going. And there was no stopping after that, honestly.
I think Siri needs a short stories. that's where it's at. Tunafaku.
Oh man, I have a whole actually 2. I have 2 exercise books in high school I just filled with stories. Bado ziko. I go back to them time and time again and I'm like, Mish, what were you writing? What were you writing? But you can't hate on that person because that person is who made you the person you are now.
Nini part of who Michelle
exactly.
is. So still on Equator Winter, these particular lines have always stuck out for me. And I apologize for the silence. Haven't talked in a while. I was busy finding reasons to get through the night, but I'm here, aren't I? I'm living and breathing and singing, aren't I? My curiosity ni, what was that in reference to katika your point ya life yako?
That was in reference to that period where I really needed a reason to say this is the point of life. This is the point of living. And at that time, it was. I apologize for the silence. Haven't talked in a while. Was literally, kind of. I literally hadn't. I hadn't talked in a while. I kind of went into my own cocoon just to like protect myself mentally. And me coming out after that is like, okay, I'm still here at the very least. At least I'm living, and I'm still breathing, and I'm still singing. Yeah. So it was like at the very least, give me that. It's like I've pushed to that point. Even if I haven't done anything more beyond that, at least I've breathed in and breathed out daily.
Directed to self, ama watu wengine as well.
To myself.
Yeah.
Directed to myself. Yeah, it was a dark time at that point. But it was also me saying, at least I'm here. At least I'm still here.
And there are so many beautiful moments kwa the EP, kama ni from a lyrical standpoint, from a melodic standpoint, from a harmony standpoint. Did the lyrical composition happen concurrently na the musical composition?
100%, yeah. They all of them happened at the same time. As I was writing each word, I was also writing the melody, and I was also writing the basic chord work structure that would go with that exact lyric, that exact melody. So it was all happening simultaneously, except for Sky Up Above, the interlude maybe is probably the one that was kind of more of a piece before I wrote the music to it, just the first part of it. But from a point, I remember it just became a song as well. It was supposed to just be a nini, like a poem, but it ended up also being a song literally like 2 lines into it. So all of it was happening very concurrently. There was none that I wrote as the melody and then fit words into it.
That being a point ya kuongelea how deliberate it was, listening to the project in a feel like the sun, it feels like the sky, it feels like flowers, and you've touched upon this earlier, but was it completely deliberate in terms of where you could pick the tones that you did and the imagery as well? Ama kuna some that because, for example, kama ni sunset, that you've observed and you love doing it, are there some images that you use that really happen, chance on? Ama completely all the images that really, to me, as well as the tones that you picked musically, was it all deliberate?
It wasn't. It was deliberate and not deliberate. It was deliberate because that's what I was thinking, that's what I was feeling, and that's what the painting that I wanted to paint with the music. But it also wasn't deliberate because all these songs were written over different times. You know, the songs I wrote, Sundays I think was the first one that I wrote quite a while ago, uko early April. But even the rest, as I was kind of building on them, they weren't trying to paint the same picture on purpose. It just happened that, actually they're all unified with this one theme of kind of picking up sonically from nature and from what I've observed around me and from birds and from bees. It just happened as such. And it was very surprising sitting back and looking at how cohesive that piece of work was, because it wasn't, when I was writing them, I wasn't writing them deliberately in that sense.
Now, for the project on keys and on production, ukona Noel Grass.
Yes.
How and why, Noel?
How is we had worked together previously countless other times, and he was the only person that I could visualize understanding my concept completely and building up on it and to add on it, and it will just be something that is kind of natural to him. Like, it won't be something that I have to over explain. He'll just kind of get it. I didn't have to explain so much in terms of what my vision was. He just understood, and it just took a few phone calls and he got it, and we started working together like almost instantaneously. So it was the first person that came to my mind, and me, I always trust my gut. It's like, if that's a person that my gut is telling me to go with, then that's who I'm gonna go with. At the time, I didn't even know that he was interested in production. At the time, I was mainly going to him as being the main musical person in charge of like orchestration, because he did all of the orchestration on the project, and the main instrument which I wanted to be the keyboard. And I was going to him as that, but and then I learned that he's also doing production, so it was like, nice, let's do that.
Zika line. My theory, how him ilikuwa that I presumed that mlipatana engage.
Yes. Was it?
Was it?
Yes, it was engaged 2018. Yeah. That's where we worked together first. And from then, any work that I had, it was always like, is Noel free? What's Noel up to? So, yeah.
My theories. How was the recording process, Kwako? What are the highlights?
The highlights and challenges and trying moments. The highlights was working with Noel, because, as I said, like, Noel just gets it, and he was very gentle, because it's the first project that I was recording ever. Was it? No, it wasn't. I'd recorded some pieces for SoundCloud before with Lee, but at that time, I don't know. It wasn't the same, because it wasn't like for a project, you know. For a project, there's a level of sound engineering that just needs to sound exactly the same throughout. So you have to be very mindful. So, and if you're mindful, sometimes you can be in your own head. It's like, do I sound how I want to sound? This is the one that will go on record literally forever. So when I was in my head, he was conscious of that. He was like, okay, you know, just edging me on to just be myself and have confidence in what I already have. And it was also a time I was really self-doubting as well. I was like, am I there vocally to create a whole project? And I remember being like, yes, I am, because actually we're doing this live. All the songs we recorded live, we were singing an entire song from start to finish. It wasn't like breaking it up. And that's part of what I wanted. I wanted it to feel like literally like a live recording. So if you're singing a whole song from start to finish and it's one that's going to be recorded and put out there, then it's a task. It's a task. It's a task. But I remember practicing in my room, and this is what I want Sundays to feel like. Soleil was the one we did last. Sundays, I think we did it third last. I think it was the third one. But I remember taking the first take for Sundays, and I was like, no, we'll come back to it. I just wasn't ready vocally or mentally or whatever it was. It just wasn't clicking the way I wanted it to sound. So I went back and practiced. It was a lot of practice and re-listening to myself and critiquing my own voice and my own sound and being like, okay, what can we add? What do you need to do? How do you need to support this note? Yeah, so it was a lot of critique and a lot of re-listening to myself. But at the same time, it was a very gentle space because that's just who Noel is. He's a very gentle guy in terms of wanting to bring out the best in you. Yeah.
Na obviously, being a jazz musician, I think ilikuwa the best partner that ungepata
that I could possibly get
for your project. Now we mentioned Leo Yugi because on your SoundCloud, yes, kuna projects that I'm sure if people have listened to you, have listened to War Letters, and then there's also Both of Me as well. I think those ilikuwa my first songs kusikiza.
What? Really?
By you.
Wow.
But sikuzisikia times zilitoka, nizisikia way later. And then through that, nikajua kuna an EP that was somewhere coming through, then nika exist. And here we are. Kuna specific musicians or other artistic influences that whether directly or indirectly seeped into the process of the project or the project itself?
Let's see. I don't think so. I don't know. There's no artist that really comes to mind. Other than maybe just the general influence of the style of music that I wanted to put out. For Sundays specifically, it being a jazz song, there's a lot of jazz influence from different artists, but especially Ella Fitzgerald and her tone. And I wanted to have this grounded voice, and I was pulling a lot from her, and just how she always feels like singing is conscious but also effortless. So that's what I wanted to pull from. Yeah.
Hakuna any movie or book
or
song or that song during your time ulisikia na played a part in some way? Uliambuskizi wasanii ukajifungia. kuna artists whenever they are creating hawataki kusikiza any other artists for the sake of avoiding influence?
Oh no, I was still listening to people and watching films, but I wouldn't say there's one that directly influenced. Although Sundays. Yeah, I think Sundays mentions a lot of musical works, right? In the chorus. I remember at that time in 2020 as well, there was this competition that was being run by Quiver that I decided to participate in, and I remember learning La Vie en Rose for that, and I loved that song. So that one definitely influenced the lyricism in that song, and I was also listening to a lot of Norah Jones, and yeah, so the songs that I mentioned in Sundays are definitely songs that I was already listening to even prior or even in 2020. So there are a lot of musical influence in that way. Yeah.
I first knew of Norah Jones, I think maybe 2016. Listened to some of her songs. So hata ume mention La Vie en Rose, April in Paris, Soleil. Obviously, apart from the first two being jazz classics, what's the French connection?
The French connection. The French connection is I mean I speak French, kind of, for the most or less part. So the connection was, actually looking at it now, I can't believe I went to Paris last year. Like that's crazy having written that. But anyways, the connection was just the name Soleil was also a name that me and my partner were and still are like calling each other. It's like my son. So Soleil and was just, it was like a pet name really. So you know how like this baby and love and sweetheart, and so it was one of those ones.
Time, I'm glad you've mentioned it. Time ulikuwa Ufaransa in 2021. Uliimba April in Paris.
Oh, of course. Oh my gosh. In my room, there was a lot of music. Because, going to a foreign country is also weird. Because, like, after you're done with, like, the official things and you've toured and whatnot, you pretty much come home to your room and you don't really have things to do or people to talk to because you're not, like, living with a family or anything. So there's a lot of watching movies and listening to music and making reels. That was what my evening used to look like. So during that time was a lot of music being listened to, and definitely April in Paris was probably one of them. I can't say for sure, but probably.
Umetaja Cueva, and so in 2020 around media up until August walikuwa na an online competition called Africa Dusk. Now one of the songs that uli submit ilikuwa Sundays. Now as you did so ulisema Sundays as a title ilikuwa tentative. So similar to Sky Up Above, now you having other options. Unaweza kumbuka the options you had for Sundays?
I don't even think there was no other option. It just ended up being that one. I thought it would be tentative, but
ilibaki tu
it
kukua.
just stayed there.
Do you think ingekuwa na the same impact? Because ulikuwa hapo for your Cheche Session and people love Sundays. I love Sundays as well. Do you think if that song has a different title, the impact is the same?
It would not be the same. Sunday as a day of the week is very different from every other day of the week. I don't think it would have communicated the same feeling of rest and nostalgia as the name Sundays and as the day Sundays. Like it just ties into the feel of the music already. I don't think it would have worked with any other title. Any other title would have been forced, honestly.
Another song that uli submit for your competition ilikuwa Chini kwa Chini, which ulitaja earlier. Ukasema hii ilikuwa your first song that uliandika officially na uka complete. Mbona ikuwa kwa ipi for your debut?
Yeah,
did you think about it at some point? Well, this is my debut, in my first song.
Yeah. I considered it, but only briefly. It didn't fit. It didn't fit with the entire vibe of the song. Because first of all, one of the things was all the songs I wanted to be there were songs I had written in 2020. It was a documentation of that time. And Chini Continue was a song I wrote in 2017 or 16. So it wouldn't really have fit into the EP. But it's still a beautiful song that I will definitely put out there in the form of maybe a single or another EP or an album. But it's one of those songs that if it's not placed right, it won't. You'll know it's not. It doesn't fit. Like imagine if Chini was on. It wouldn't have. Yeah, but
release, will that be your pop song? That be your breakout song, your breakout single.
I don't know if I'd label it pop or not. Even if it is, I'd be so happy just to have people vibe to it and dance to it. It's giving like a nice evening. It's a dimly lit like pub. Guys are tipsy. Guys have their Tusker lager in their hands. They're just dancing with the people that they love. I'd want that. If that's pop, then I want it.
Tusker amekulipa.
Hashtag paid partnership with EABL. It's not even my fave, but
we also need partnerships and support. We are doing amazing work.
They'll come.
So a few months after project imetoka, so now it is July, uli share something as well on Instagram. Ukisema uko so glad that huku attach your worth as a musician to the outcome of the EP. How did you get to that point emotionally and mentally?
It came from having experienced now what the polar opposite feels like, to have attached your value as a musician to the outcome of a venture you decide to go into. And that happened with the little concert sessions. And I remember what I felt when I attached my value to that. I was like, because of this outcome and this turnout, then it means my worth is just equally as much in terms of my musicianship. And for a while, I didn't do much of anything musical just because of that. I was like, nah, nope. But having come back into 2020, that confidence also came from me knowing I've put something good out. And yeah, it was a mental journey for sure, because I know what the other end feels like. And this time I was very conscious not to do that. I remember just being like, no, Michelle, this time you're not doing that. It was a conscious decision and a mental journey.
Now that imekuwa 2 years later, and tukiwa hapo uliambia watu wanunue the EP because you on hustle sasa. Are people supporting the doctor?
Not as much as I would like.
Mbona support daktari?
Like, I'm still waiting for more and more sales to come through. I think I'll put something up again and just remind people that it's still out there. And I'm sure people would love to. Maybe they don't know. Maybe I don't know. I'm still figuring out this Instagram thing. Maybe putting it in a video was not the most. Maybe I don't know, and maybe I need to do more. But I definitely think that it'll come through. Yeah.
I think marketing obviously playing a tie into sales. And now speaking of sales na money, and you mentioned this, ukitupatia part of the process. Sikuwa najua it's an interest because I was about to ask, because I saw ukishare that you are selling some of the pieces that will paint to fund the completion of the project.
Yep.
So while you are painting si kitu that ulikuwa umefanya before your time, because I thought, were you painting before and then you did this ndio uweze kufund your project, or you just picked up on painting around your time ya COVID and then it just so happened that...
Yeah, I picked it up your time ya COVID. It was just a way to pass time really and to learn something new. But eventually that's what kind of fueled and got me where I needed to be able to have that project. So it wasn't, I'd never painted in my life. Save for ile watercolor arts and crafts on Fridays as a last class in primary. Nope, I had never painted before. So it was literally like amateur work. For you to buy that project, you really wanted to support me. It wasn't like standing out like pieces of work. It was just okay. And I still want to learn more and build my skills in painting. But I'm glad that something that I did just went in that direction.
Painting?
I'm a visual person. I like colors. I like colors. And I like doing things with my hands. And I like things that take mental energy, and then I can see the result with what I make. So it's not just painting, it's so many other things. It's learning like embroidery and sewing, and playing the piano. It's just something that I like, having visual feedback, sonic feedback to anything that I'm doing with my hand.
Na since that ili cater for 60% as ulisema, the other 40 the other 40 tukiwa hapa na room tulimuza kuhusu pesa. Na sasa ina pesa watuambiangi. At least Michelle ametuambia japata sales ile angetaka, so mnunue project. But if 40%
so I can pay myself, man. Like
unataka kujilipa?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I never paid for myself for that EP, but it wasn't an aim, but it would be nice, you know. But the other 40% just came from me looking and people's support. Yeah.
Na venye kuongelea pesa na kwa nguvu.
Yeah, like, you know, so you just see M-Pesa, you tell someone that you're doing a project and they're like, oh, okay, what do you need? Okay.
But for 60%, would you say that was successful? Yes?
Oh my gosh, it went beyond my expectation for sure. For sure. So it was a major success.
So in the 2 years of its existence, the feedback on the EP imekuwaje on your end?
Wonderful. It's been so good. People use the songs for like their videos on Instagram. People send me messages and tell me how lovely they thought the music is. And And also just in terms of numbers as well, it's performed so much better, and it's still increasing. Like people are still listening. I was looking at my Spotify Wrapped, and I was like, wow, people are vibing still. So it was a lot of, first of all, the numbers, people's own words and feedback, and of course your review as well was also a highlight. Just having that feedback the reception was incredible. Yeah.
Juu kona paid partnership na EBL. Namba zako zime increase. Na nikianza nilisema watu wa hii channel wamechoka kusikia jina lako. Tunataka commission yetu. After hii conversation, we also need money. Sisi kama Sanaa kwa sana.
I'll
So take us through this. You open one day, whatever time it was, your email. Some strange name iko pale. Sanaa kwa sana. Sijui kama ilikuwa kwa spam, kama ilikuwa kwa promo, whatever tab ililandi. Sanaa kwa sana is there.
Yep.
Okay, you open. Read the email. Okay, there's a link here. My project imetajwa. You open the link. It's a 30-minute video.
Yep.
A video that is longer than your actual
EP.
And then you watch the video. And you go through the video. Take us through a moment. Reading the email, clicking the link, opening the video, and finishing it.
Wow. It was interesting. I remember opening it, and there was also a lengthy message attached to it. So I was like, okay, this is someone who, first of all, has a lot to say. So, akuna maneno mob. So, but I like that. I like people like that. I like people who like express what they are trying to say, as in from beginning, giving us context to the end. So already I was like, okay, this sounds like someone I want to hear from. And then I opened the link, and I was like, okay, this guy's talking about my song, and it looks chill, it looks calm, but what are they saying? So it comes up as stress. I started getting stressed. Then I watched maybe 5 minutes into it. I'm like, oh, this is not too bad. So what I did, I just called my sister. I was like, I'm not going to go through this alone. Nope. I remember I called my sister to where we were. I was in the study, and I opened it on my laptop, and I was like, no more, you have to watch this with me. Because for me, it was, like someone is talking about your work. It's a very personal I don't want to go through it alone. So we watched it together. And I remember putting it on 1.5 speed because you were talking so slowly. But I was like, no, I need to hear everything that this guy wants to say. And hearing from you was, I don't think I'd had someone who had delved and dissected the work the way you guys had. It was refreshing because you had picked up. I remember the point where I was like, this guy actually listened was when you were talking about Skype above the interlude and the wordplay that I used in the song. And I was like, wow, you picked up on that. That's amazing. So it was nice. It was nice. It was refreshing. It was a good experience. Just at first I was just like, this is gonna be cringy for me. But in the end, I'm glad I did it. And thank you for sending it to me. I didn't just stumble upon it on the internet. Thank you so much for sending it to me.
So sound umesikia? Who was there kwa review? Nilikuwa naambia Michelle tukimit for the first time here during the Cheche Session that if we had said otherwise on that review, hatungekuwa na hii conversation.
Oh gosh, yeah. It should probably take in a different direction.
Unge come across us randomly. Because I have met artists who come across us randomly sometimes. Una search. So maybe one of those days searching Michelle Gatuiku Skype above. Alafu unaona, wait, EP review by some people. Maybe ungepata a real panic attack as you watched. So last year ulikuwa nominated kwa Cafe Ngoma for Best Jazz Act.
Yep.
Ilifilaje kwako, and what are your thoughts on awards generally?
It was that one and songwriter. It was just Best Jazz Act and Best Songwriter. I felt more at home with the songwriter nomination than I did with the jazz one. Simply because I'm still learning so much musically about, because it's jazz is a feeling, it's an energy, but there's also a lot of musical theory that goes with it that I'm still learning about. So for the jazz act, I was like, I don't know if it's if I am like, if that's an accolade that I can claim. Yes, if I got it and if I won, would I have said yes, indeed I am the best jazz act? I didn't feel like I would be comfortable to say that at that point in time. I was like, maybe later on. But for songwriter, I was like, yeah, I felt more comfortable in that, just because I do feel like I do write good music. But and my thoughts on awards in general, it's a mixed feeling. For an artist, it's always nice to have that feedback, to be like, okay, we appreciated and we saw the work that went into it and it was good and it was brilliant. But at the same time, it depends who is the person on the other end deciding that this is the best. That's one of the major things about awards that has to be taken into consideration. And number two, like music and any form of art, especially like movies, because those are the two things that have universal awards often. It's about the person who received it. So it's about the person who watched the movie and the person who listened to the album. Did they think it was good? Did they think it was the best? And what even characterizes as the best? Yeah. There's so many, as in it's such an individual experience to watch a movie, and it will tap into different parts of everyone's subconscious, different parts of everyone's personality. So the person who watches this is the person who decides whether or not they like it. So it's here and there. Yeah.
Ungeshinda ungesema hivyo?
Imagine to be the same. It would still be the same. But that you can't mask the joy as well. I'd be happy, of course, because it's someone recognizing the work that I did.
So you umesema una feel more at home with your category as songwriter of the year. Do you feel uko place where you would want to be as a songwriter?
Yeah, I think so. I feel the same way I felt when I wrote Chini Kwa Chini. Like, as long as I'm writing things that are about my own personal experience, or even stepping into other people's shoes and writing their own experience, then that's all I can really do. That's all I can ever do. Yeah, that's all I have.
So tuna karibia kutamatisha. What is your favorite track on the project?
My favorite track on the project, Sundays.
Kwa nini? Nafili nika cheat answer.
I have two. My two favorites are maybe not how it sounds. Soleil. I like Soleil, but I don't know. I criticize myself more when I listen to myself on Soleil than I do on Sundays. So for that reason, Soleil doesn't take the first position, but generally Soleil and Sundays, because of how they sound and what they remind me of, and yeah, those are my two faves.
Does your partner also feel the same about Soleil now that unajicritique? Ama ajui the points of where kujicritique?
Siwezi mwongelea, like sina maoni.
Utaki kuanzisha vita?
I cannot self-proclaim. No.
So I want to read a paragraph here that nilijaribu kuandika summarize the project. And then once I read it, naza share your thoughts, and then utupatie your final thoughts as well regarding the EP na anything else. Sky Up Above exists in its spaces and intimacies, beautiful, compelling, and encompassing of the power of opposing yet connected parts. It is contemplation in melody and sunshine in song. When the sky opened its arms, Michelle soared, roamed, and mused, and then she let us in. Her debut EP results from two potent forces merging, nature and Michelle's voice.
That's an accurate assessment of what I think the process throughout creating that project. But I'm interested in what, when you say opposite and oppose, what did you say? Opposite and opposing, you said? Opposite and complementing.
And connected.
And connected. Okay. I'm not exactly sure. When you say that, what do you mean?
Lights and sounds of the outside. And musing and thinking and contemplating
Yeah.
inward, for instance. And ukiangalia that, for example, is the entire project. That need this time where people amekuwa in the pandemic and people have been stuck outside, but you found solace and a lot of serenity in nature and being outside, and birds that tunasikia and the ambient sounds kwa the project, but kuna a lot of looking inward and contemplation.
100%.
There's that. And ukiangalia kitu ka waves, for example, na Equator Winter, the opening ya waves ni lighter than the darker
of
side
Equator
that
Winter.
tunapata kwa Equator Winter. So you find easy forces
duality
na
in
aspects
that.
kwa the project.
No, 100%, that's true. Because 2020 as a time frame is it's a very outward directed period, because all we were doing was influenced by external forces, influenced by what governments decide and what WHO decides and what people decide, and the level of risk and exposure people decide. So it was a lot of external forces. So for me to have looked inward to create this project, it was already going against what was happening at the time, and it was a conscious decision to do that, because otherwise I don't know if I'd have survived mentally. Like it was a point where looking inward was also what kept me afloat. So I think your assessment of what Sky Up Above is, combining my voice, melody, and nature is exactly what the project was supposed to be. Even by the way, Unga was supposed to have been on that project, but because again it was a documentation of what that year was, but it just didn't fit. Eco-fit. I decided to put it out as a single before, and I'm glad I did. But it's like the way books have what's the thing, like after the book is over, something that you add on top to just complement the work of art that already has just ended. Unga is kind of like an arm attached to Sky Up Above. It's equally like a deluxe version or yeah.
Any final thoughts, sentiments regarding
my final thoughts and sentiments
your debut
are
EP 2 years later? 2 years later.
I want to thank myself. You know that that Snoop. I want to thank me because I did that, and I am so proud of myself. I'm so happy that I decided to do it, and I am thankful. Those are the two things. Like, I'm just super grateful for everything that happened leading up to that moment, to the people that held my hand through it, and the people that received it, listened to it, reviewed it. Yeah, it's just a massive, massive thankful feeling to be here today. And looking into the future, I'm excited for what other interpretations and interests Sky Up Above will gather. Maybe, who knows, it might be considered as an additional, like, I want my works to be progressively taking on new form, that someone can take this piece from here and find that it works for maybe a film or something, or someone finds that it can work for a piece of, I don't know, like a theater piece or a musical. Who knows? Like, I'm open to it, like, taking on new form. Yeah, that's the beauty of music. Like, it keeps being transformed.
I do think that if people care enough, na kukuwe na kama ni curators or music critics na music historians, wenye at a point watakaa na wadig the archives za Kenyan jazz music, I strongly feel that this is a defining project for Kenyan jazz.
That is an honor. Oh, that would be an honor. Like, I hope so. I can only pray that comes to pass. Thank you so much.
What commemoration this has been ya Sky Up Above debut EP ya Daktari Gatuiku aliye nasi leo na ametujoin for the anniversary of the project 2 years later. Nimemtaja mara nyingi sana na ka bado hujawahi sikiza hiyo project, sijui unafanya nini na maisha yako. Unadu Irauka's voice unadu. So check out Sky Up Above. iko hustle sasa, unaweza ipata. Go purchase the project, stream it as well. Mpatie hizo numbers kwa Spotify Wrapped, ndio atupatie commission yetu. We are making a strong case for ourselves as Sanaa kwa Sana.
As you should. It's a beautiful platform.
And I am glad that we may have a conversation and that we've had this moment. And this is a historic moment. This will live. If you are here in 2073, you're proving kile tulifanya 50 years ago to be accurate. So thank you, Sanaa, Michelle.
Yeah.
Again, I can't believe it may happen, but here we are. Niko grateful. And to you too who's watching, feel free to like the video, feel free to subscribe. And tuambie pia which artist ungependa kuona tukifanya hizi conversations with. Kuna more that is coming. And again, importantly, tukimaliza, asante sana to Cheche Bookshop and Cafe for giving us the space kufanya hii shughuli hapa. Shukran sana for your time.
Thank you as well. Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to more. Even there'll be more projects, so hopefully more spaces like this.